Okay, so we're at the northern end of the system, and I thought I'd just give you a brief walk down the system, looking at what we've got here at the integrated multi-trophic aquaculture site here in BC, Canada. I see there's a bit of stuff on my lens. Hopefully it's not going to screw it up too badly. My name's Rusty Smith, and I'll walk you around the farm, give you a bit of a tour. We're at the far end, the non-productive end at the moment, as we're still in research and development of Dr. Steve Cross's idea. So when we got here, most of these anchors weren't tight and the system hadn't been really used at all. It was in about 4 different sections, and so we turfed everything pretty much up by hand and rebuilt the cage system and got it back into a state that was at least presentable. So today we're actually harvesting black cod, and as we walk down the system you'll see that come further and further into view. Over to our right here is the eyesore of the farm. I might as well start there. That float has been here since Dave and I got here, although we've added flotation to it. Over on that float you can see a bunch of big grey masses. Those are actually the remains of the closed containment future sea bags, and the plastic there, big plastic rings there, are the deck plates for those. When I got out to this farm, it was very surprising to see those here. I got here in 2007, but I actually managed the project on those sea bags for Marine Harvest Canada at Salt Spring in 2000. Well, I put them in 2001 and grew fish in them 2002 and early part of 2003. So it was kind of interesting to see those here. They're absolutely wrecked, however, with sun damage, and they were pretty much past their life when they came out of the water at Salt Spring after the 2nd year class. So as I say, this end of the system is unproductive as yet, although we do and have used it for little studies, for different scientific studies on the site. And in fact, these lines here go down to some oyster cages, which were being, there was a study going on for cadmium pickup in oysters out here. Yes, on the west coast there can be a problem, and also I believe there was a co-study going on this bunch of oyster cages, not very many, DFO study, on whether or not urchins could help keep the mantle, the fast growth shell in the oyster mowed down, so you wouldn't have to tumble it. I'm not allowed to really talk about how that study turned out, but that was what it was there for. So as we walk up the system here, we've got originally we didn't have the far scallop system apparatus called the C system, designed by Steve, and so we initially were running our scallop lines inside the cages. So inside this 50 by cage we have a bunch of long line, and then off each one of those a drop is going down to scallop cages, which are start at 5 meters down. So these guys are actually ready to harvest and have been for probably 4 or 5 months now, but for reasons I'm not made aware of, we haven't harvested these scallops yet. The rest of the scallops that we had and have on site have been moved from those cages over there and down into the scallop system, and are now part of the integrated multi-trophic aquaculture setup, whereby the scallops, which are actually on the downside of the cages on my left, the scallop system with the big tower is on the down current side of those cages, according to our current meters and flow studies done by Steve and the research students and his benthic company. So we've moved most of the scallop stock down now into that scallop system. The idea being that scallops and mussels and urchins that we have growing in in there will intercept fine particulate matter coming off the fish cages. So we have one small group of a second year class of black cod in this pen, and then as you travel up the farm we've got another 6 full pens of fish now, approximately 50,000 fish on the farm, although we are harvesting now. And these fish have been here, well, this group has been here for just a year and a half, not even a year, sorry. They came in, these fish came in February, so a year and a little bit, and so maybe 18 months. So, and they're around 1.6 kilos. You can't see them because black cod don't jump. They are actually coming up, although I don't think my video camera will pick them up. They think I'm going to feed them, but they're wrong. They're quite excited, although you can't really tell. You can see a bit of a swirl happening over there. The school's starting to come up to the top thinking I'm going to feed them. It's actually their feeding day, but they'll get fed after harvest today. We want to get the harvest out and off to the plant as soon as possible. So hopefully you can see them swirling there. So the rest of the cages came in March 2008 at a size of 10 grams. And those guys, we got the small group we got from Sablefin Canada a year later, and they were the next year class, but they actually came in a little bit bigger. They'd been harboured at the Sablefin farm for a couple of months, and we got them at, I think it was 80 to 100 gram average, which was a lot nicer size to start with. So as we walk on down the system here, we've got the Height of Joy and the boys doing a grade to harvest over there, which there should be other video available on my videos, and you'll see a close-up of that action. But for the tour's sake, so the fish cages are on the left, or the upcurrent side, and down the end there we've got a compressor running the uplift for the harvest. To my right here is the scallop handling system, or the C system, that we built out here with the help of Marine Construction in Vancouver. It was an interesting project, and I'll have a bunch of still photos and maybe some video on the building of this system, and then the modification of this system, because there wasn't enough flotation, which we had to do out here, and a few other modifications. The original tram size was a 50-foot span, because the original idea was to have 50-foot cages on this side of the farm and then run it up and down the main walkways. However, the single walkway couldn't handle the weight. The C-tram was made out of an iron beam, or 2 iron beams, so we also had to come up with a method to cut that down from 50 feet, and it's now 40 feet, which was an interesting little project, and I'll put some stuff on YouTube on that. So just outside this, or further downstream, all those black floats you can see out there are kelp suspended at 5 meters, 2 meters apart, basically forming a curtain of kelp on the downstream side to pick up the ammonias, nitrates, soluble nutrients that are coming off the cages. One last thing, over by the boat there's a bunch of poles sticking in the air. They're actually poles that I designed years ago for Marine Construction for net, holding up bird nets. They call them rusty poles, but they're modified, and we got them off Terry Brooks, actually got them for free, and their purpose is for pulling up the sea urchin cages, the sea cucumber cages, trial cages that we have suspended underneath the fish cages to intercept and digest solid waste, fish poop. The sea cucumbers seem to love it. So that is a brief tour of the integrated multi-trophic aquaculture site here in beautiful British Columbia. This is Surprise Island, and this is the Kyuquot Seafoods Surprise Island site.